Hello, ladies, and welcome to our new Bible reading series. I'm Cindra Enlow from HeavenlyPlace.com, and this year, as we read through the Bible, we'll explore God's incredible story of love and redemption. If you're looking for a Bible reading plan that's simple and doable, this is it. So let's get started and discover the heart of God together, one chapter at a time. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to our one-year Bible reading plan. This is week 27, day 4. And today's reading is 2 Kings chapter 14, 2 Chronicles 25, and then the whole book of Jonah, chapters 1 through 4. Although the reading plan is scheduled for chapter 4 to be on tomorrow's reading, we're going to include it in today's reading. So in 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles, we see just another version of the same kings that we read about yesterday. Just a different telling with some different details. But Jonah is a new story and a familiar one. Every child's Sunday school lesson in one fashion or another has taught about the consequences of Jonah's disobedience in an exciting way. We see Jonah thrown off the ship and swept up by a fish and then spit out on the land. But it was more tragic than that. More dramatic than that. The Ninevites were a horrible people, and Jonah understandably didn't want to go to them because they were an evil people. They tortured other people, and it was a horrible place to be, and Jonah, being a Hebrew, he didn't want to be with those people or to help those people. But in the end, he obeys, and the people repent, and God redeems them, and Jonah pouts about the whole thing, the whole situation. But then God uses a vine and a worm to teach Jonah the final lesson about mercy and love and compassion. And just like Jonah, this is where we see the heart of God. We know that God is patient, compassionate, and slow to anger. In our reading, we'll see that Jonah says that's why he didn't want to go to Nineveh. But we know that God will go to great lengths to reach the lost, even when his messengers are reluctant, his people are reluctant. And he invites us to love the same people that he loves, the souls over self, and people over plants. Okay, ladies, let's get started on our reading today, beginning in 2 Kings chapters 14, 2 Chronicles 25, and then the book of Jonah, chapters 1 through 4. 2 Kings 14. In the second year of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoiadin of Jerusalem. He did that which was right in Yahweh's eyes, yet not like David his father. He did according to all that Joash his father had done. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and burned incense in the high places. As soon as the kingdom was established in his hand, he killed his servants who had slain the king his father. But the children of the murderers he didn't put to death, according to that which is written in the book of the law of Moses, as Yahweh commanded, saying, The father shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children be put to death for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. He killed 10,000 Edomites in the valley of Salt, and took Selah by war, and called its name Joktheel to this day. Then Amaziah sent messengers to Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come, let's look one another in the face. Jehoash, the king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give your daughter to my son as wife. Then a wild animal that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thistle. You have indeed struck Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Enjoy the glory of it, and stay at home. For why should you meddle to your harm, that you fall, even you, and Judah with you? But Amaziah would not listen. So Jehoash king of Israel went up, and he and Amaziah king of Judah looked one another in the face at Beth-shemesh, which belongs to Judah. Judah was defeated by Israel, and each man fled to his tent. Jehoash king of Israel took Amaziah king of Judah, the son of Jehoash, the son of Ahaziah, at Beth-shemesh, and came to Jerusalem. then broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. He took all the gold and silver and all the vessels that were found in Yahweh's house and in the treasures of the king's house, the hostages also, and returned to Samaria. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoash, which he did, and his might, and how he fought with Amaziah king of Judah, are they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. Jehoash slept with his fathers and was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel, and Jeroboam his son reigned in his place. Amaziah the son of Joash king of Judah lived after the death of Joash son of Jehoahaz king of Israel 15 years. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, are they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? They made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him in Lachish and killed him there. They brought him on horses, and he was buried at Jerusalem with his fathers in David's city. All the people of Judah took Azariah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the place of his father Amaziah. He built Elath and restored it to Judah. After that the king slept with his fathers. In the 15th year of Amaziah the son of Joash king of Judah, Jeroboam the son of Joash king of Israel began to reign in Samaria 41 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. He didn't depart from all the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. He restored the border of Israel from the entrance of Hamath to the sea of Arabah, according to Yahweh the God of Israel's word, which he spoke by his servant Jonah the son of Amittai, the prophet who was from Gath-hepher. For Yahweh saw the affliction of Israel, and it was very bitter for all, slave and free, and there was no helper for Israel. Yahweh didn't say that he would blot out the name of Israel from under the sky, but he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam the son of Joash. Now the rest of the acts of Jeroboam and all that he did, and his might, how he fought and how he recovered Damascus and Hamath, which had belonged to Judah for Israel, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Jeroboam slept with his fathers, even with the kings of Israel, and Zechariah his son reigned in his place. 2 Chronicles 25. Amaziah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoaddan of Jerusalem. He did that which was right in Yahweh's eyes, but not with a perfect heart. Now when the kingdom was established to him, he killed his servants, who had killed his father the king. But he didn't put their children to death, but did according to that which is written in the law in the book of Moses, as Yahweh commanded, saying, The father shall not die for the children, neither shall the children die for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. Moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together and ordered them according to their fathers' houses, under captains of thousands and captains of hundreds, even all Judah and Benjamin. He counted them from 20 years old and upward, and found that there were 300,000 chosen men, able to go out to war, who could handle spear and shield. He also hired 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. A man of God came to him, saying, O king, don't let the army of Israel go with you, for Yahweh is not with Israel, with all the children of Ephraim. But if you will go, take action, and be strong for the battle. God will overthrow you before the enemy, for God has power to help and to overthrow. Amaziah said to the man of God, But what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? The man of God answered, Yahweh is able to give you much more than this. Then Amaziah separated them, the army that had come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again. Therefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in fierce anger. Amaziah took courage and led his people out and went to the valley of Salt, and struck 10,000 of the children of Seir. The children of Judah carried away 10,000 alive, and brought them to the top of the rock, and threw them down from the top of the rock, so that they all were broken in pieces. But the men of the army whom Amaziah sent back, that they should not go with him to battle, fell on the cities of Judah from Samaria even to Beth-horon, and struck of them 3,000, and took much plunder. Now after Amaziah had come from the slaughter of the Edomites, he brought the gods of the children of Seir, and set them up to be his gods, and bowed down himself before them, and burned incense to them. Therefore Yahweh's anger burned against Amaziah, and he sent to him a prophet who said to him, Why have you sought after the gods of the people, which have not delivered their own people out of your hand?" As he talked with him, the king said to him, "Have we made you one of the king's counselors? Stop. Why should you be struck down?" Then the prophet stopped and said, "I know that God has determined to destroy you because you have done this and have not listened to my counsel." Then Amaziah, king of Judah, consulted his advisers and sent to Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, "Come, let's look one another in the face." Joash, king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, "The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, 'Give your daughter to my son as his wife.' Then a wild animal that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thistle. You say to yourself that you have struck Edom, and your heart lifts you up to boast. Now stay at home. Why should you meddle with trouble that you should fall, even you and Judah with you?" But Amaziah would not listen, for it was of God, that he might deliver them into the hand of their enemies, because they had sought after the gods of Edom. So Joash king of Israel went up, and he and Amaziah king of Judah looked one another in the face at Beth-shemesh, which belongs to Judah. Judah was defeated by Israel, so every man fled to his tent. Joash king of Israel took Amaziah king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Beth-shemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. He took all the gold and silver, and all the vessels that were found in God's house, with Obed-Edom, and the treasures of the king's house, and the hostages, and returned to Samaria. Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived for 15 years after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, first and last, behold, aren't they written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel? Now from the time that Amaziah turned away from following Yahweh, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem. He fled to Lachish, but they sent after him to Lachish and killed him there. They brought him on horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. Jonah 1. Now Yahweh's word came to Jonah the son of Amittai, saying, "Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and preach against it, for their wickedness has come up before me." But Jonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid its fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh. But Yahweh sent out a great wind on the sea, and there was a mighty storm on the sea, so that the ship was likely to break up. Then the mariners were afraid, and every man cried to his God. They threw the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone down into the innermost parts of the ship, and he was laying down and was fast asleep. So the shipmaster came to him and said to him, "What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, call on your God. Maybe your God will notice us, so that we won't perish." They all said to each other, "Come, let's cast lots, that we may know who is responsible for this evil that is on us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they asked him, "Tell us, please, for whose cause this evil is on us. What is your occupation? Where do you come from? What is your country? Of what people are you?" He said to them, "I am a Hebrew, and I fear Yahweh, the God of heaven, who has made the sea and the dry land." Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, "What have you done?" For the men knew that he was fleeing from the presence of Yahweh, because he had told them. Then they said to him, "What shall we do to you, that the sea may be calm to us?" For the sea grew more and more stormy. He said to them, "Take me up and throw me into the sea. Then the sea will calm for you, for I know that because of me this great storm is on you." Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to get them back to the land, but they could not, for the sea grew more and more stormy against them. Therefore they cried to Yahweh and said, "We beg you, Yahweh, we beg you, don't let us die for this man's life, and don't lay on us innocent blood. For you, Yahweh, have done as it pleased you." So they took up Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea ceased its raging. Then the men feared Yahweh exceedingly, and they offered a sacrifice to Yahweh and made vows. Yahweh prepared a huge fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah 2. Then Jonah prayed to Yahweh, his God, out of the fish's belly. He said, "I called because of my affliction to Yahweh. He answered me. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried, you heard my voice. For you threw me into the depths and the heart of the seas. The flood was all around me. All your waves and your billows passed over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The waters surrounded me even to the soul. The deep was around me. The weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth barred me in forever. Yet you have brought my life up from the pit, Yahweh my God. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered Yahweh. My prayer came in to you, into your holy temple. Those who regard vain idols forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice to you with a voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that which I have vowed. Salvation belongs to Yahweh. Then Yahweh spoke to the fish, and it vomited out Jonah on the dry land. Jonah 3. Yahweh's word came to Jonah the second time, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and preach to it the message that I give you. So Jonah arose and went to Nineveh, according to Yahweh's word. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly great city, 3 days' journey across. Jonah began to enter into the city, a day's journey, and he cried out and said, In 40 days Nineveh will be overthrown. The people of Nineveh believed God, and they proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth, from their greatest even to their least. The news reached the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, took off his royal robe, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. He made a proclamation and published through Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, Let neither man nor animal, herd nor flock, taste anything. Let them not feed nor drink water, but let them be covered with sackcloth, both man and animal, and let them cry mightily to God. Yes, let them turn every one from his evil way, and from the violence that is in his hands. Who knows whether God will not turn and relent, and turn away from his fierce anger, so that we might not perish. God saw their works, and they turned from their evil way. God relented of the disaster which he said he would do to them, and he didn't do it. Jonah 4. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was angry. He prayed to Yahweh and said, Please, Yahweh, wasn't this what I said when I was still in my own country? Therefore I hurried to flee to Tarshish, for I knew that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, and you relent of doing harm. Therefore now, Yahweh, take, I beg you, my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Yahweh said, Is it right for you to be angry? Then Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city, and there made himself a booth and sat under it in the shade until he might see what would become of the city. Yahweh God prepared a vine and made it to come up over Jonah, that it might be a shade over his head to deliver him from his discomfort. So Jonah was exceedingly glad because of the vine. But God prepared a worm at dawn the next day, and it chewed on the vine so that it withered. When the sun arose, God prepared a sultry east wind, and the sun beat on Jonah's head, so that he was faint and requested for himself that he might die. He said, It is better for me to die than to live. God said to Jonah, Is it right for you to be angry about the vine? He said, I am right to be angry even to death. Yahweh said, You have been concerned for the vine for which you have not labored, neither made it grow, which came up in a night and perished in a night. Shouldn't I be concerned for Nineveh, that great city, in which are more than 120,000 persons who can't discern between their right hand and their left hand, and also many animals?